Going on, everyone? The Arid Lord is back. Welcome back to another Walking Dead Season 10 vlog. This one's going to be previewing Episode 4 of Season 10, entitled Silence the Whispers. The description for this episode reads, "Still paranoid Alexandrians get riled up over the Whispers and take their fear out on Negan. Meanwhile, at Hilltop, the group deals with an unexpected safety issue." Now, there are a few images released for this episode that we can review, and the first the first set, I suppose, has to do with Lydia, and this seems like it's going to be another Lydia-centric well, I mean, I shouldn't say another. I mean, we really haven't had one, but this is going to be a Lydia-centric episode. But I've seen most of the previews for this episode seem to feature Lydia, and the description obviously hints that Negan is going to be the person that everyone takes out their anger on. So, is this going to push Negan in a bad direction? Because he got on Aaron's good side. He got on Michonne's good side when he saved Judith. He was already on Judith's good side, as she was the first person to try to see something in him. So, is all of that progress going to be wiped out because everyone's on edge, because Alpha just drew a new border? Everyone's coughed up with the PTSD between Sadiq and Carol and everybody else that we saw last episode. So, basically, it's funny because Lydia and Negan do have a lot in common, because they're both from groups that were villains, enemies with our main cast of survivors. Lydia left the Whispers, obviously, and Negan was... I mean, it's worse for Negan because he was the guy. He was the lead savior, the one that led the pack. So you think about Laura and DJ and some of the ex-saviors that crossed over to the good side. They're more welcomed. Laura's actually on the Alexandria Council, the woman that has like the tattoo, like the number tattoo. They're more welcomed than somebody like Negan, who people, like, he directly killed Glenn and Abraham. Like, he's seen as being responsible for a lot of the things that happened, especially to Daryl. I mean, Negan and Daryl don't have a great history ever since Daryl punched him, and then Negan enslaved him at the sanctuary, and Dwight made him, eat dog food and all that horrible stuff. I saw in the trailer where Daryl goes to Negan's cell and is kind of taunting him, like, "You and I have never been face to face in a room before." I don't know if this is where Daryl tries to punch him or attack him, because again, this is only going to push Negan to not like the survivors, And I don't know if it's going to get to the point where he's going to use the Whisperer conflict to just wipe out the survivors. I'm not sure. I don't know when it's going to come to a head. I don't know when that point is going to come, but it definitely seems like people are going to be getting their feelings hurt, their buttons pushed, and I'd say Lydia and Negan are in the same boat, and it's probably going to be focused on them. Now, Silence the Whispers is actually the name of a comic book issue, and I can provide an image for that. This is kind of like the Call to Arms, the Cold War stuff. This is right before, in the comics, Negan crosses over into the Whisperer border. But they've been fleshing out the Whispers much more than the comics for anyone who has read them. And again, I think that's great. I've said in episodes prior, and I've said in vlogs prior, that I think Kirkman did a horrible job with the Whisperers. That I don't think he expanded them at all. All of this extra stuff with Alpha's backstory, this Cold War feeling with the border, her constantly pressing and pressing. We saw that last episode where the hours were ticking by and she just kept sending walkers to tire him out. Like, she doesn't even want to kill them. If she had just wanted to kill them, she would have done so when they had that meeting in episode 3 just last week. But she would rather, she's sadistic, she would rather see them suffer. So now she's reestablishing the border and just kind of squeezing them more and more. So this episode is going to be a result of that. Now, we haven't seen what's been going on with the Hilltop in quite a bit. This is, Ezekiel, Jerry Hilltop, the Alden, some of the other characters that are there. From the previews, it looks like there's another massive walker attack. Again, like, you never know. It's weird because now you never know who's sending the walkers. Like, is it the Whisperers or is it just a random walker attack? Because it's a real threat. If this was the Saviors, you could see them, throwing grenades or trying to, like, set fires to lead the walkers. But with the Whisperers, they blend so well that they can really control that herd and make it a super weapon. So, interesting. I mean, I don't know what security they're talking about at Hilltop. I don't know if it's just the threat of walkers or if it's something more. We'll have to find out. But I'm definitely interested to see how Negan and Lydia, like, because again, they never had dialogue together in the show. In the comics. In the comics, Lydia is at Hilltop. She's actually granted asylum at Hilltop and not Alexandria. And she still has a lover in Carl. In the show, it was Henry. Henry died, so now Lydia doesn't have a lover. So now they're going to have to expand. This was my fear because I knew that so much of Lydia's character development after the initial romance was going to be her relationship and how people accepted or did not accept her. And because she has no love interest, I was just worried that they wouldn't know what to do with the character. But I guess giving her scenes with Negan, who is coming from, like, they can kind of sympathize with one another. We saw a little bit of that in the first episode. And again, like, Daryl's going to get involved. I don't know. Again, I would love for Carol to have some dialogue with Negan. That was one of my things for my wish list for season 10. I wanted those two characters to talk to each other. They never have, which is crazy. All throughout, when the Saviors were the main villains, I really thought that Negan was going to have some type of dialogue with Carol. That it just because Gavin was the main envoy for the kingdom, and so he was like, Negan never went to the kingdom. Actually, technically, he never went to the Hilltop. I mean, he wanted to before Jadis captured him. He was going to go to the Hilltop when Simon led the attack when they infected their weapons. But we've only seen Negan go to Alexandria. That's the only thing he raided Alexandria. I mean, that's because Rick lived there, and I think it was just the dynamic between Negan and Rick. And we recall that Carol used to be in Alexandria, but the events of her leaving kind of separated her from that whole thing. So, but now that Carol's living in Alexandria again, like, she's in the same vicinity as this guy. So I don't see why they couldn't. They have the new dynamic between Lydia and Negan, and that's new, so there's no reason not to have other stuff. However, I will be very interested to see how Daryl and Negan reconnect, because we know that history, as I mentioned, and it's not pretty. They haven't talked to each other in a very long time. They had no dialogue between one another in Season 9. They had no... And actually, technically, even in Season 8. Probably... I'd say since Daryl escaped the sanctuary, I don't think Daryl and Negan have had any type of dialogue, except the scene where Negan says, "Ooh, I gotta have me my Daryl back" at the end of Season 7 when he rolls up to the gates of Alexandria. But they didn't have a conversation since Negan had him as a prisoner. So... it's cool that they're addressing that, and they should. And, those were just dialogue decisions that Gimple made that just, affected the show. So, yeah, I'm glad that we're going to get this. And I'm glad that there's a lot of different dynamics. I think you're going to have more of the PTSD stuff. And I hope it continues. And, yeah, let me know what things you guys are looking forward to. One last prospect about this episode. It's being directed by Michael Cutlitz, who obviously plays Abraham, who I met last week at Walker Stalker, interestingly enough. And his episode last year was really good. Like, I think he's doing a great job directing, so it'll be quite interesting to see how his focus as a director, what kind of product we end up with. And maybe because he knows some of these early character dynamics from when he was an actor on the show, maybe he can bring those more to life. So, all right, guys, post your comments and questions below. And as always, we'll anticipate the episode in the coming days. I'll probably have my Walker Stalker stuff on either Friday or Saturday. The Negan Judith panel, and then also my afterthoughts on some things that happened with the event. And some recent announcements that have come out about it. And I'll try to get that all out to you before Sunday, because Sunday will be episode 4's reaction. I'll try to up the volume. I know some people were saying it was too quiet. YouTube's still hitting me with copyright stuff because I'm trying to put the full episode up. So I might need to cut the episode up like I did. I did that in season 9 where I kind of chopped the episode up into pieces. And that worked better. I know it's not the full episode, but I might have to do that if YouTube... They just get stricter and stricter, so I can't... It's not like years past. Like season 6, I used to be able to upload it and have no problems, but it's like full episodes and everything. But now I'm running into more and more roadblocks. Every year it seems YouTube puts up more roadblocks, and it just becomes harder and harder. So I know that's not the greatest news. I agree, it's annoying, but I can't change it because it's just YouTube doing whatever it wants. So, all right. Anyway, thank you guys. I'll have more updates in the future as they come, but just look forward to that footage, and we'll go from there. All right? Thanks.